மீடியா உங்கள் கனவா? தகுதியான நபர்களுக்கு 100% வரை ஸ்காலர்ஷிப், படிக்கும் அனைவருக்கும் இன்டர்ன்ஷிப், பிளேஸ்மெண்ட் அசிஸ்டன்ஸ். அட்மிஷன் க்ளோசஸ் ஆன் 30th June. பாண்டே ஸ்கூல் ஆஃப் ஜெர்னலிசம் ஷார்ட் டேர்ம் கோர்ஸில் உடனே சேர 7338824242 psj234@yahoo.com.
உங்கள் தொழிற்சாலை மற்றும் நிறுவனத்தின் மின்சார தேவையை வங்கி நிதி உதவியுடன் சொந்தமாக சோலார் பிளான்ட் அமைத்து முழுமையாக நீங்களே பூர்த்தி செய்து கொள்ளலாம். வேலன் இன்ஃப்ரா ப்ராஜெக்ட் பிரைவேட் லிமிடெட், சென்னை. 9842252166.
During the Sri Lankan Civil War. That's a campaign that I will continue to fight on behalf of my British Tamil constituents. I wish you well with this event, and I'm sure Lord John Mann will be a very able host. So thank you to Theresa Williams for passing on those videos, and her apologies for not being here. I will now pass you on to our special guest that I'm sure that we're all here to listen to Annamalai avarkal. He's the president of the Tamil Nadu state of BJP, the current ruling party in India.
Good evening to everybody. Councillor Madam Sharmila, who is very instrumental in getting us all together here, and friends from the British Tamil Forum BTF, and especially its General Secretary Sri Ravi Kumar Ji, and very, very respected British Parliamentarians, Lord John Mann, Right Honourable John MacDonald Ji, the MP from Scottish National Party, Sri Martin Day Ji, and all eminent members who have come as part of the Sangamam team from Tamil Nadu, and the members of civil society. I'll take some time initially to just trace the 1500-year civilizational journey that the Elam Tamils and Tamilians from India we enjoyed. Pattinapalai, very ancient text in Tamil Nadu, written in Tamil 1400 years back. It uses a phrase called Eelathu Unavum Kalagathu Akkamum, where we talk about the food from Elam, from the northeast part of Sri Lanka, the food coming to a port in Pumbuhar. And 1400 years back, a text in Tamil Nadu in Tamil mentions it. Again, if we go back to 9th and 10th centuries, which is 1000 years before the reign of Rajaraja Chola and Rajendra Cholan, we had very close connections to Elam Tamils and Tamil Nadu. And if I go one step further again, the modern Vishwaguru, Swami Vivekananda, after his very historic Chicago speech, instead of coming to India first, he chose to go to Sri Lanka first in 1897. He addressed the Jaffna Hindu College about the culture, the close connection that Sri Lanka and India enjoys, and specifically the Elam Tamils and Tamilians enjoy. And the second stop, he came to India. Then what happened very unfortunately post 1947 is a very unfortunate thing. This issue is not a one-year issue or not a decade-old issue. It's almost a 85-year-old issue. When Sri Lanka got independence, we all know the Tamils of Sri Lanka, the north and eastern part of Sri Lanka, they had a very disproportionate number in civil service, in judiciary, in business. Only because it was a very fair competition, the Tamil Elam friends and brothers, they enjoyed a very disproportionate presence, only because of a merit-based competition. 1948, the new country of Sri Lanka brought an amendment to the Citizenship Act, thereby rendering millions of Tamils overnight stateless and homeless. That issue took about almost 2 decades in the Sastri time through the Sastri Pact to get solved. And right now as we speak, there are millions of our friends, Sri Lankan Tamils, settled in parts of Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, because of the Sastri Pact when India agreed to take the stateless Tamils back to our country. Then if we go one step further, after the Civil War, specifically the 1987, the Indo-Sri Lankan occurred, for which India is supposed to be a guarantor of its implementation in full letter and spirit, and thereby agreeing to whatever our Prime Minister in 2017 spoke to Sri Lankan, they combined both the houses. Then if you go one step further, 2009 was a very terrible year for everybody. As a politician in Tamil Nadu, I keep blaming the then central government in 2009 for failing to do its duty, for failing to be the country which could have stopped its war, prevented killing of millions of people, which India failed to do in 2009. Post 2014, when our Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji started coming in, that is the time we are seeing a very new hope, which is a continuity of this thousands of year-old civilizational continuity we have. Our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji was the first Indian politician to use the word called civilizational twins. He said India and Sri Lanka are sisters from the same mother. And this is not a question of a big brother and a small country next to each other. This is not a question of India trying its strategy over Sri Lanka to win over the hearts. Our Prime Minister was the first politician in India to use the word called civilizational twins, whereby we have a historic duty to solve the issues in Sri Lanka, to play an active role to make sure, especially the Tamils in the northeastern part, they go back to how they were 100 years before. If I can trace back the last 9 years of what India was able to do inside Sri Lanka, and millions of rupees of money poured into Sri Lanka, just to make sure the northeastern part of Sri Lanka gets stabilized. As we speak now, 51,000 houses built by the Indian government in the northeast and in the central province of Sri Lanka so that people have a house to live. And more importantly, post that, India, just now we have opened the cultural center in Jaffna at a cost of 120 crore Indian rupee, and which the Prime Minister believes the rich culture of Jaffna should get preserved through that center, whereby even 1,000 years from now, the richness of Jaffna should go to the next generation also. The rail link from Colombo to Jaffna, again India got in. And Prime Minister firmly believes to solve the problem in Sri Lanka, the people-to-people contact needs to be strengthened. After 1987, the Accord, and before that, after the unfortunate cyclone that we got, whereby the railroad got washed away, almost 25 years, there was very little human people-to-people interaction between Tamil Nadu and the northeastern part of Sri Lanka. Anybody has to go to Sri Lanka, you have to go to Colombo, then travel about 6-7 hours to go to northeast, which is very culturally connected to you. In the last 3-4 years, India has made very major strides there. The Jaffna-Palali airport got built with a soft loan given by India. The flights were operating. During the COVID time, the flights got stopped. Again, India put pressure. The flights got restarted again now. And India is very clear. The port facility of Chanakyaa and Durai, especially the northern part of Sri Lanka, has to improve again so that we operate passenger ships between Karaikal, Chennai, and Ramanathapuram to Pamban. So these are all areas the Prime Minister is focusing, where people-to-people contact between India and Sri Lanka gets established, not through Colombo, but directly to the northeastern part of Sri Lanka. As we speak now, the Chanakyaa and Durai port thing is almost through. On any point of time, we expect the first passenger ship to sail from Karaikal to Chanakyaa and Durai, which Sir was mentioning that we made it as an agenda point. The flights are flying from Chennai daily to Palali airport, where a lot of Tamils from Tamil Nadu, a lot of Tamils from the Elams, they both fly to different parts of each other. And more than that, in the recent Sri Lanka debt trap crisis that happened in the last 1.5 years, very, very unfortunate. India fulfilled its duty, civilizational duty, by supporting Sri Lanka with about $3.8 billion of soft loans, 40,000 metric ton of diesel and petrol, sending vegetables, critical supplies of medicine, where India literally stabilized Sri Lanka from collapsing. So this is the historic arc I wanted to trace. I had the huge privilege of stepping into the very sacred land, the Elam land in the northeastern part of Sri Lanka. I'm yet to come across a culture that is so vibrant, that is brilliant, that is so rooted. I'm yet to come across a culture like how Tamil Elams are. We all believe in this age and time, if we are not solving this problem now, we are not going to solve this problem anytime more in the future. And before getting into the strategic part and what India is doing now, what we foresee that will happen in the next 5 to 10 years, I would like to pinpoint 4 or 5 issues of concern that I have seen during my visit to the Northeast. I have observed the educational standards of the Northeastern part have drastically fallen down. The same area 10-15 years before, the students, the Tamil Elam students from the Northeastern part, who are able to top most of the Sri Lankan examinations, the last 3-4 years of central examinations, they seem to fare very poorly and they are in the bottom percentile. This, I believe, is very, very dangerous. And any political solution, when we do it now or in the future, it has to have a very able workforce. It has to have very educationally sound people. This, I believe, is a very critical area of concern. The second area of concern I see in the north and the east, the alarming rate of fall in the Hindu population. The Hindu population is falling down drastically. In fact, I use the word called alarmingly in the northern and eastern part of Sri Lanka, which I believe is a severe case of concern, because this demographic change is going to adversely affect the culture of that area in decades to come. The third issue, I believe, is the issue of archaeological sites. The Northeast continues to enjoy 1,000 plus years of its own unique culture and distinct identity. Of late, we see the Buddhist archaeological sites cropping in, whereby there is a cause of tension between the Elam Tamils and the Buddhists there because of the archaeological issues that I believe it needs to be sorted out for any lasting peace to come there and solution to be permanent in the coming decade or so. Fourth one, I would have seen the Sri Lankan army occupying agricultural lands in the northeastern part of Sri Lanka, and which are very fertile lands, and a lot of army camps and everything being established there. And the fifth issue, I've seen the lack of unity among the Tamil political parties in both in the northern and the eastern part, where you individually interact with the Tamil political leaders. Everybody seems to have their own solution, but they don't seem to have a combined solution where they can sit at the table. We can talk everywhere across the country, across the world, but to have a lasting solution, it is very important the Tamil parties of the Northeast, they come to a common platform. We also had the opportunity to take it to the Sri Lankan side during our visit to the Jaffna, including to the Sri Lankan Prime Minister as well, about the issues of the falling educational standards, the issues of the changing demographic nature, the falling of Hindu population there, and more importantly, the archaeological issues. I'm very happy recently, just about a fortnight back, the Sri Lankan government has appointed a new governor to the eastern province who happens to be a Tamil, from the Malayaga part of Sri Lanka, from the central province, Mr. Sendil Tondaiman, who happens to be a governor. I believe with this appointment, many of the pressing issues, including the archaeological problem, will come to a solution is our belief. And more than that, India is also getting into the cultural side in the northeastern part. The temple Tirukethispuram, which is 1400 years old, which is sung in the very ancient Tamil epic called Devara, which we, India, helped to renovate it. The Kumbhabhishekam is done. That is also sending a lot of Tamils from Tamil Nadu to go to Tirukethispuram. We believe in the coming years, strengthening of people-to-people contact is going to put pressure on the local politicians to find a lasting solution. I'm sure the British parliamentarians, the honorable members will understand. Sri Lankan constitution is a very unique constitution. Out of the 225 MPs in the Sri Lankan constitution, 196 are elected directly by the public. And the rest 29 are elected from the national list. Meaning a powerful politician in Sri Lanka can get defeated in an election. Still he can get into the parliament through the national list by virtue of the party getting a significant percentage of votes. So what I'm trying to convey is we cannot count any single politician out of Sri Lanka. Every single politician who has governed in the last 30-40 years, he or she exercised a significant, considerable amount of influence in Sri Lankan politics. So countries like India, which are very, very close to Sri Lanka, we have to engage every single politician there. Politicians of opposite sides, previous presidents, former prime ministers, because you cannot count anybody out in the way the Sri Lankan parliamentary democracy is designed. That is why the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji is the first Indian Prime Minister to visit Jaffna. We say we are 1400 years old of civilizational continuity. But it is the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji who made an effort to visit Jaffna for the first time after Sri Lanka got independence in 1948. And the Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji made an effort to visit the central province, again the first Prime Minister to do it. And the Honorable Prime Minister has said in very clear and very categorical terms that the lasting solution for Sri Lanka is the complete and full implementation of Article 13, and India stands guaranteed to the accord signed in 1987 between the two governments. Under External Affairs Minister Mr. Jaishankar, as late in 2023, a couple of months back, when he met the Sri Lankan Prime Minister also, India has reiterated that Article 13, the complete implementation is also expected. But we all know in the era of power politics, the China model of debt trap, the string of pearls theory, the China's heavy investment inside Sri Lanka, right from Hambantota to Colombo to the northeastern part, right up to creating of new ports there. There is also a strategic objective for countries like India. And one is a civilizational tune. We believe it is our moral responsibility to stand with our brothers and sisters there to find a solution to it. At the same time, we are also very careful. Sri Lanka should not get into the global high power politics, whereby it behaves like a pawn in a chessboard, where the people will ultimately suffer. With this, I really thank the British Tamil Forum. And one thing I can assure on behalf of our party, and we have been very vociferous over the last 2 years, and we have been putting pressure on our own government, including a delegation from our party in Tamil Nadu, where we happens to be the ruling party in India. We have given a delegation on behalf of Tamil Nadu BJP. We have given a representation to our External Affairs Minister that Article 13 has to be implemented in a speedy fashion. No more delay is unacceptable to the people of Tamil Nadu, because we believe after what happened in 2009, where India also played a direct part, where India could have easily stopped it, it is important that India solves it now. So we completely agree with many of the things that you have said. At the same time, coming from India, we are also very careful because we have to work across the political parties. We have to develop a degree of trust because the borders between both the countries is just 25 kilometers away. And every day the fishermen from Tamil Nadu get arrested in the northeastern part of Sri Lanka. As we speak now, 22 of our fishermen from Tamil Nadu are in Sri Lankan jails, arrested 2 days back for getting into Sri Lankan waters. So we are also very careful, very cognizant of it. And we also believe forums like British Tamil Forum, with the support of the honorable members of parliament here, with the support of the global civil society, you are exerting the pressure that is supposed to be exerted. But we are very confident. We stand with you. We also need a solution. We want them to live in peace. We don't want this great culture to get disintegrated. With the falling levels of educational standard is an alarming cause. When we find the solution 5 years from now, we should have people there. We should have quality of people there. We should have good quality of educated people there to build back the economy, which we believe right now is not happening. That is why parallelly also the Indian ambassador, Mr. Gopal Bagle, and all our leaders there present in the Indian embassy, we are urging the Indian corporates to go and set shops in the northeastern part of Sri Lanka, create employment, bring a degree of stabilization there. With this, I end my speech. I thank the opportunity given by BTF to come here to the seat of, I think this place ruled 3/4 of the world just about 100 years back. So it's a privilege coming here and addressing the crowd and especially talking to our British parliamentarians. We'll be very happy to take any of your questions and clarify. Thank you so much.